chasers look to be in better fettle. They've spent most of the day, these two chasers, in the confines of the peloton, and if you're at the back of the peloton, you actually feel yourself being pulled along. I've been there myself, not in actual road races, but on club runs, big club runs. Not good enough for road racing, he never was, but that's by the way. When you're in a big peloton, you can actually feel yourself to a certain degree being pulled along when you're at the back, and therefore it's much easier for you than doing turns on the front. Sometimes, of course, into the wind. Well, even in a tailwind, you're actually hitting whatever air there is, and you're having to sort of punch your way through it, aren't you? So it's much harder at the front. And those two guys who are chasing, they've been in the peloton somewhere, maybe hidden totally, anonymously, and now they've made their move. Well, they're comparatively fresh. These four guys out in the lead, who've been in the lead for so long now, remember, Massimo Codol, Sergio Perez, Cesar Garcia and Marcelino Garcia, they've been out doing their share of the work out in front. They've had a hard time of it. All credit to them for taking the initiative. This is what I like to see in stage racing. I like to see guys who are prepared to have a go. But the other two guys have comparatively fresh legs. That's the point I'm trying to make. So maybe they can close the gap. But remember, behind all of them, the four leaders, the two chasers with 25 kilometres to go, the peloton as a whole being constantly kept at a very good tempo by the Rabobank team, and we've also seen the Banesto boys having a little bit of a go to help them as well, the ibanesto.com team. They will want to bring the whole lot back so that they can make sure that Schberg has the yellow jersey for tomorrow's third stage of this year's edition of the Tour of the Basque Country. Dry roads here, a little different from the start of the stage as we go back to Ricardo Valdez and Unai Echevarria, not to be confused, let me just stress once again, with David Echevarria, no relation whatsoever. These two riders will have been told, I'm sure, just how that time gap is. I'm interested to know now. I would suggest it's probably less than 45 seconds. And Valdez, who was the first one to attack from the peloton around about 8 or 9, 10 kilometres ago, still looking good as they just breast that little rise there. Echevarria in the orange, firmly on his wheel. Considering Valdez is lightly raced, having his season ended sometime around about late May last year, not been raced since, he's looking pretty good. The support vehicles, as ever on a stage race, following these riders intently. Team managers, service cars. The yellow car is the Mavic neutral service car, who is always there to service anybody in desperation, as it were, who the team cars, their own team cars, can't get to. Well, can these four stay clear? I'm not so sure. I think the two chasers might get up to them, but I still feel that the Rabobank boys will time this to a nicety on the final run-in and peg it back. On a commentating point of view, I confess, folks, I'd be very, very pleased to see them stay away, because it's much easier to commentate on a sprint finish with only four riders, isn't it? But there we are. That's just me giving away my little secrets. I'm sure that crowd at the finish will have swollen quite considerably by the time the riders get there. The Spanish love their racing, and particularly the Basque. When the Tour de France is on and the Tour de France gets to the Pyrenees, even if it doesn't actually cross the border into Spain, the Basques, I'm sure you've seen in the past, have always come out in force, particularly a few years back now when Big Miguel Indurain, who comes from the Navarre area of Spain, which is to the eastern end of the Basque Country, when he was in his pomp in the early 90s, they used to come over in their tens of thousands with their Basque flags. Now, it's still 55 seconds and 150. Now, that's very interesting, because those time gaps have actually lengthened slightly. Valdez was at one stage within 50 seconds, and the peloton was within 135. The latest time check has amazingly shown that the 4 leaders have gained another 20 seconds back on the peloton again. How interesting. So, 55 seconds to these 2 chasers, and then 1 more minute now between these 2 chasers and the main peloton. Interesting stuff indeed. Well, Codol hasn't changed his expression. Whenever we've seen him, it's always been that mask of concentration from the Italian in the Lampre team. They'll be a bit upset that Raimondas Rumsas, the Lithuanian who rides for them and was their team leader, winner of this race last year, did not make the selection, the final selection. On those last 2 climbs, he got blown out and didn't make the final 30. Neither did Pavel Tonkov. As you were, my apologies, Tonkov did. Tonkov, in fact, finished in 28th place of those 30 riders who made it together on the line. So Pavel Tonkov, the former winner of the Giro d'Italia, is theoretically now their race leader in the Lampre-Daikin team. Won the Giro back in 1996. Rumsas will have been a bit upset that he didn't make it yesterday. I remember the first time I came across him, you know, it was in the Pro Tour, the sadly very brief Pro Tour, only 2 editions of it, 98 and 99. And it was on the second of those in Swansea, wasn't it? That's right. He was in a lead group that came into Swansea, and just before the finish line, they turned sharp left up Constitution Hill. Now, people in South Wales will know all about Constitution Hill in Swansea. I've only seen it once or twice before. My goodness me, what an unbelievable climb that was. They had to go all the way to the top of this climb. Incredibly steep. Make a right turn at the top, a little bit of level, before plunging back down again and coming to the finish line from the opposite direction to what you thought they would naturally do it. And Rumsas was the winner of that stage that day. That was the first time I came across him. He's had many chances for fame and fortune, Rumsas. Won this race last year, 45 seconds and 1:40. So it's come back down again now. It really is chopping and changing around, isn't it? Came down to 50 seconds and 1:35. Then it lengthened out again to 55 and 1:55 with 20 kilometres to go. Now it's just 45 seconds and 1:40. So the 2 chasers are now nearer to the 4 leaders than they have ever been at just 45 seconds. Although the peloton behind them at 1 minute 40, well, they were at 1:35 a little earlier, so they're not quite back to where they were. So fascinating stuff going out here on the road back towards Vitoria, through which they went at roughly half distance in this race, right in the heart of the Basque Country. For those of you who don't know too much about Spain, if you've never visited this lovely country of Spain, we're in towards the north central end of Spain, some way south of Bilbao and San Sebastian. And those of you who've got your maps, you shouldn't have too much problem finding Vitoria, which forms something of a triangle, if you like, between Bilbao, San Sebastian and Vitoria itself, inland. Some distance to the east, you've got Pamplona, right on the edge of the Basque Country, really, almost nestling in the foothills of the Pyrenees, Pamplona. And that's the town famous for the annual bull run, the Pamplona bull run, where the locals are chased by bulls through the town. Sadly for them, they're crazy, aren't they? Some of them do from time to time get quite nastily injured, but that's their choice. Whatever turns you on. Well, we're not going to Pamplona in this year's edition of the race. We're right in the heart, centre of the Basque Country, and somewhere to the northeast of the Burgos, where of course we have yet another of these many lovely, exciting Spanish stage races throughout each year. Nice that we can bring you these split pictures courtesy of Spanish television, so that we can keep an eye on both the leading break and the chasers. Last little bit of something to eat, I think, for Valdez. Won't have much more time to take whatever. Oh, it's a little drink, and there's something in his back pocket there. Well, I hope that helps him to get safely to the finish. 45 and 1:23. Well, that 1:40's suddenly come down, but the 45 seconds hasn't changed. I still have this nagging feeling that it's all going to come together. That last little hill at 13 to go, I think might well be the denouement, the Alto de Vitoria. At that point, they're almost on the outskirts of the town, but they actually circumnavigate. They go round the town without coming into it, up this last climb, which overlooks the town. Don't know whether we'll get any nice, good helicopter shots when we get there. And then they plunge down into the town to the finish. The last 13 kilometres is pretty well all downhill into the town. A shot of the peloton, and I'm just looking for those Rabobank jerseys, and at the moment we don't see them. So what's going on back in the peloton? Have they lost control of things back there? Usquiano is 18 kilometres to go. That's the town they're just coming into, and there's confirmation of it on your screen. So they're getting ever nearer that last little climb, which they top at 13 to go. So 5k to the top of the last climb, 3 miles roughly. The two chasers still trying to get within striking distance of the 4 leaders. It's going to be touch and go, this, isn't it? Don't forget, by the way, if you've got any more questions you want to ask, just put them down on our website. Those of you with access to computers, www.eurosport.com. And I've already mentioned a few today. My thanks to Daniel Player and Henry Fry, Alan Brown, Michael Sargent, for those I managed to read out earlier on in the programme. And oh yeah, and thanks also to my very good friend Mike Brecken for reminding me about the memorial service for Ron and May Kitching in Harrogate at Christchurch on the Stray on April the 30th. 12 midday, the 30th of April. I'm sure there will be hundreds of people who will want to go to that memorial service. Many, many people knew Ron Kit and, of course, his wife May. Sadly, they're no longer with us. We'll all be there in Harrogate on April the 30th. .50 seconds to the chasers. It's becoming quite hard work, this, isn't it? It's been at around 45-50 for some considerable time now for Valdez and Echevarria. Unai Echevarria. I have to stress that because it's not David Echevarria, remember. David Echevarria, the team leader of the Euskaltel team, but Unai Echevarria, although they ride for the same team, is a Venezuelan. We have the 4 leaders on the left and the 2 chasers on the right, and the GPS is telling us 49 seconds, but they're really making a hard fist at this. Echevarria, look, he's really striving hard. Interestingly, got the arm warmers on. Now that is interesting because the weather when we started, in case you've just joined us and you missed the start of the programme, the weather was actually quite bad at the start of the stage. There was a bit of rain earlier on, and some of the roads were a little bit greasy to begin with, and it wasn't all that warm. Maybe that's why Echevarria's got the arm warmers on, although in fairness it has dried out since. We have seen a little bit of sunshine. The forecast for the rest of the week is not too bad. Let's hope that it stays that way. Remember, tomorrow here on Eurosport International and British Eurosport, we go live at 1:45 in the UK, that's 2:45 Central European time, to Ghent Wevelgem with David Duffield. And, well, of course, as soon as that's finished and David's done his stint for you, I will then take over and bring you day 3 of this Tour of the Basque Country. So we've got a great big double header for you tomorrow for all you cycling fans. If you're going to go out training, make sure you do it in the morning and settle down. That is, all those of you who have no work to do, that is. And make sure you're with us tomorrow afternoon for a great double header. And then, of course, Thursday and Friday, we've got 2 more stages of the Tour of the Basque Country to bring you. Bit of a break on Saturday. Relief. You can actually go out and do a time trial or a road race or whatever. And then, of course, the great centenary ride, the 100th edition of Paris-Roubaix on Sunday, live here on British Eurosport and Eurosport International. And, well, it should be quite an occasion. OK, Mario Cipollini will not be there, but so many of the big names will be. Who cares, dare I say that? And it promises to be a fantastic occasion. The race started back in 1896. It had its centenary celebrations, the 100th year since the first edition. But this is the 100th running of the race this Sunday. say. So don't you dare miss it. Well, there you are. The crowd's getting bigger and bigger at the finish now as we go back to the two chasers. Unai Echevarria, he's really putting everything into this, and yet they just can't seem to reduce that 45 or 50-second gap between themselves and the 4 leaders up the road. Brightly coloured Orbea frame that he's on. Nice finish. It's a nice paint job, that, isn't it, eh? For the Euskaltel boys. And now the turn of the Jastel Costa de Almeria rider to come to the front, Ricardo Valdez. And these two, both with the arm warmers on, still plugging away, trying desperately to close the gap up to the 4 leaders. It's a difficult situation for these two, isn't it? They know that the peloton is breathing down their neck, less than 1 minute behind them. They in turn are less than 1 minute behind 4 leaders. They're real piggies in the middle at the moment, aren't they? Sorry about the picture breaking. We'll probably go back to the finish. Yes, I thought so. Spanish television not having the best of days today. It's a big problem. Do bear with us. We do apologise for the problems we're having with the pictures. There's the finish once again. And, well, they're even farther behind schedule than I thought they would be. Even on the slow schedule of 38 kilometres to the hour, they should have been at the finish at about 5:35 Central European time, 4:35 in the UK. That's 10 minutes away by my calculations, and I don't think they're going to even quite make that. They're going to be a little bit behind that schedule. So pretty late finish here. Well, actually, the time there says 4:36. I think that is now, that's changed. It was giving time of day, wasn't it? It's now giving the race time. The race time is 4 hours and 36 minutes since they began at, let me see now, when did they begin? The race proper began at around about 12:45. Midday, just after midday. So the clock has now reverted to the actual race time. And as you see, it's getting very busy down there as the Spaniards wait for the finish of stage 2 of this Tour of the Basque Country. All that road will be well clear of people walking around like that in another 10 or 15 minutes time. More likely 15 minutes, I would think. And a very colourful sight. Even the barriers are painted a bright colour. Goodness, I've never seen them painted like that in Britain before. Rather nice, isn't it? Nice touch. As we go back to a slow-mo of the 4 leaders. Well, Codol has done a lot of hard work. There he is, that unmoved, changing expression on his face throughout. Whenever we've seen him, the Italian shows no expression other than that fixed, concentrated look. The 2 relaxed Fuenlabrada riders making the most of this. Good publicity for them in Spain, this. But more importantly, can they stay clear and contest the finish? If it does come down to a sprint finish, they've got a good chance. They can play the old 1-2 against the other guys. Although Codol's a wily old Italian, and he might well turn out to be the favourite for the sprint, should they stay clear. And I still think that's a debatable point as to whether they can do it. I'd like to see those two chasers get up to them, though. Unai Echevarria and Ricardo Valdez. It's going to be a big problem for them, though. They've hovered at around the 45 to 50 second job for some considerable distance now, haven't they? Watch out, everybody. Police are on the job, making sure everything's all right. Well, it's time for us to take one more commercial break, but don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back with more news of the Tour of the Basque Country in about a minute and a half or so from now. Well, welcome back live here to the Tour of the Basque Country. Sorry about these pictures breaking up once again. I have a feeling that it might be something to do with those low clouds hanging on the mountains and maybe interfering with some of the many aerials that we've seen on the mountain tops, as we are currently with the 4 leaders. Now then, I said 4 leaders. I'm just looking to see what's happened to the CSC rider, and I don't see him there for the moment. Where's he gone? Marcelino Garcia, has he blown? I have a feeling that Marcelino Garcia was not with those 4 leaders there. We did see him struggle, remember, towards the top end of the last big climb as we go back to the 2 chasers. Whoa, and now then, all of a sudden it's down to 21 seconds. Now then, this is a real chance for these two. Incidentally, Unai Echeverria in the orange there, the Venezuelan, during the commercial break, I just flipped through a few pages because I wasn't happy that I wasn't able to tell you definitively which of those races it was where he won the opening stage and took us all by surprise. It was the Setmana Catalana, the Catalan week of March 2000. That was the race where he won the opening stage. Laurent Jalabert went on to win the race overall on that occasion. But it was this Echeverria, the Venezuelan Echeverria, Unai Echeverria, who won that opening stage on that occasion 2 years ago. There we are. I'm glad I've cleared that little bit up. Now, look, it's definitely down to 3. And this has happened during the commercial break, so I can't tell you exactly whether the rider blew up or punctured, but definitely now we are down to 3 riders. Marcelino Garcia has gone, and the gap between the 3 leaders, as it now is, and the 2 chasers is just 21 seconds. Well, that's made it a little bit easier for the 2 chasers to get up to these 3 leaders. It's 2-1 here at the front, isn't it? Now the relaxed Fuenlabrada riders have got the numerical advantage over that man there, Cordol, the Italian. Can they stay clear? Can they stay clear? Wouldn't it be great for them if they could do it? Well, they're by no means there yet. And if they do stay away, then there's a good chance that Sberg might not hang on to his jersey. I'm just trying to go back to the general classification here if I can, and just see which of these leaders is the best placed, because I don't think any of them were actually in that lead break yesterday. They certainly weren't. Ricardo Valdez, the Jazztel rider, is actually the best placed of the 5 or 6, if you include Marcelino Garcia, of these riders who've been out on the attack. Ricardo Valdez, who's chasing just behind these 3 and closing the gap quite quickly now, he is actually the leading rider of these guys who are out in front. He was 1 minute 45 behind Sberg and the other 29 riders in that lead group yesterday. So if these riders do stay clear, provided Sberg and the Rabobank boys can get over the line within 1 minute and 45 seconds. By the way, there are no stage time bonuses in this particular race. There's quite a few Spanish races that don't have time bonuses. In the Tour de France and a lot of the major races, you'll get time bonuses for winning a stage, maybe 10 seconds, 6 seconds, 4 seconds, or something like that for the first 3 over the line. That's what often happens. As you can see, this gap really coming down quite quickly now. But there are no stage bonuses, so that's the calculation. Sberg and the Rabobank boys, provided they finish within 1 minute and 45 seconds of these guys, Sberg will hang on to the jersey. I'm assuming that Sberg is still safely in the peloton, which he clearly was when we last saw them. The yellow jersey was there with 1 or 2 Rabobank jerseys at his side. We've had a number of shots of them guarding Sberg's leadership, the Swiss having won the opening stage yesterday. So that's the calculation, 1 minute and 45 seconds. And, well, Marcelino Garcia went during the commercial break. I've just heard that he just blew. He just blew it. I've just heard it over my headphones, so that's the reason why Garcia's gone. He's had enough. Remember, those 4 leaders have been out in front for about 150k now of this total stage of 183k. And we're rapidly reaching the closing stages, and those 2 riders surely now are going to be up with the 3 leaders very soon. 9 kilometres to go. Obviously, Marcelino Garcia just couldn't hang on up that last little climb. We've gone over the Alto de Vitoria. We've just got to come down into the town of Vitoria, the administrative capital of the Basque Country. And those 5 riders are very, very soon going to be all together. There's the 2 chasers. They've almost closed this gap. It's been one heck of a chase, hasn't it, since these 2 first broke away. Individually, remember, it was the Jazztel Costa de Almeria rider who went first, and then a little later on we saw the Euskaltel rider break away on his own, and he soon got up to the first guy to go away, and now you see them just about to latch on to the lead three. Now this is making a very, very interesting situation now. With 8 kilometres to go, we have 5 riders. I think I can say we've got 5 riders together. They've still got another 20 metres to go, but they're clearly going to latch on. So 5 riders, and the crucial question now is, what is the time gap inside the last 8 kilometres? Just 5 miles, remember, that's all, for them over the peloton. Well, I've just heard 1 minute and 20. I've just heard 1 minute and 20 for the 5 leaders. Now, I think that might suggest to me that they're going to stay away, stay clear. What do you think? My money now is on them staying away, and I think that the Rabobank boys will probably do the calculation and work out that provided they cross the line no more than 1 minute 45 ahead, then behind the 5 leaders, then that means that Berg will continue to hang on to the leader's jersey. Well, Valdez and Echeverria have really done a marvellous job. It wasn't easy at first, but they stuck with it. All credit to them for sticking with it and not being put off by those time checks, where it just didn't seem to be coming down at all for kilometre after kilometre after a kilometre. It's taken a long, long time. So they've really done a great job in staying together and getting up. The real 2-man team time trial, as we take a look back to the peloton. And no, that motorcyclist wasn't doing his trick cycling. When these guys are on the motorbikes all day like this, following the race, the legs don't move. And sometimes, I know because I've spoken to some of the police on British races who've escorted races around the country, and the legs can very easily cramp up over 4 or 5 hours on a motorbike like that. And so what they'll do, you sometimes see them waggling their legs in the air. I know it looks really weird at times, but all they're doing is just relieving the leg muscles so that they don't get cramped. 1 minute and 6. Interesting, it was 1:20 down to 1:06.15 as the GPS gives you a constant readout of the gap, but I think that might just be enough now for these 5 to stay away. I know I'm changing my mind from what I said earlier. I thought it would all come together again, but now that these 2 have got up, I think that they might be just that, making that little difference to the other 3 leaders now, and it will be enough for them to stay clear. Brief shot of the yellow jersey, 6k to go for the 5 leaders, so that's only about 4 miles. I don't think that the peloton is going to catch them up. So it's going to come down, I think, to a sprint, and I wonder, is it going to be Codol, the crafty Lampre rider? The Italians are a crafty lot. He won't give anything away, expression-wise. Oh, well, suddenly it's down to 56 seconds. Well, I still don't think now that it's going to happen. You can see the Rabobank boys on the front there. They've got this under control. They've done enough to make sure that Bitschberg hangs on to the jersey. So down into the outskirts of Vitoria, this very, very old town, founded back in 1181 by Sancho the Wise. And the Rabobank boys on the right-hand picture at the front of the peloton, as the leaders go under the 5 kilometre to go banner. In the outskirts of the town already, just 3 more miles to go to the finish line, which we saw on many occasions earlier in this live transmission. Remember, 2 of the Relax Juan Labradas in there, so they have the chance, if they want to, if they feel up to it, to work a 1-2. But will they be able to catch the other 3 riders unawares? Not easy. Rabobank boys working hard now to keep this time gap down to a minimum as they too go under the 5K banner. Less than a minute in it, but I don't think that they'll get... Oh, and now we've got an attack by Valdez. Valdez is trying to get clear, quickly marked down by Perez of Relax Fuenlabrada. 46 seconds, 45 seconds. There's the 4K banner. Well, that little flurry from the Jastel Almeria rider being nullified. Who's your money on? Is it going to be Codol for Lampre? He's doing his turn at the front, and in fairness, he's done a lot of work at the front throughout that original break, the four-man break, which included Marcelino Garcia, who sadly blew to pieces on the last climb. Teeth being gritted there by Valdez on the front. There's Codol just going through the picture. At the rear of the five-man break, Unai Echevarria. Well, we've seen him win before. I mentioned it in the Catalan week 2 years ago. In fact, he had a couple of wins that year because later on in the season, he, well, in fact, the following month, he won the Grand Prix Primavera, another one-day race in Spain. And he sometimes gets confused with David Echevarria. It's such an unusual name. You don't think there could possibly be two of them. And now that they're riding for the same team, it's even worse. However, this is the the Venezuelan Echevarria, as the three leaders have 3 kilometers to go. Just 2 more miles. And I don't think that the chase behind is now going to be successful. But Rabobank have got this one nicely calculated. They don't have to catch the leaders to have Spitzberg in the yellow jersey for another time. Now then, a break by Echevarria. Well, this is it. He's trying to catch the relaxed Fuenlabrada riders unawares. He doesn't want them working the 1-2 on him. And the Venezuelan has gone for it on this little climb. It's a nasty little climb, and this is going to test the legs. And at the back, Perez is having a hard time of it for relaxed Fuenlabrada. And he's opened up a bit of a gap now. Inside 3 kilometers to go. Unai Echevarria, the Venezuelan, who I was just talking about a little bit earlier. Now then, can he stay clear? Well, at least one rider's got up to him, and it looks like it's the Jastel rider, Valdez. Let's go down from the helicopter shot if we can, please, Mr. Cameraman, and get a closer view of the two. And look at the gap that they've opened up in just a short space of time. A big attack there with 3 kilometers to go from the Euskaltel rider. Oh no, it's one of the relaxed Fuenlabradas who's managed to get up to him. And they may have done just enough to stay clear, I think. And it's Garcia who's made it up to Echevarria. Garcia, and there's a view back to the peloton, only about 30 or 40 seconds behind them, but they're not going to catch them now, at least not the 2 leaders, if indeed the 2 leaders do manage to stay clear. You can see the yellow jersey lying in 6th or 7th place. He's safely there under the 2 kilometer banner. So they too have only 2,000 meters to go as we go back to Garcia and Echevarria. Unai Echevarria and Cesar Garcia. Well, it'll not be long now before they see the red kite at 1 kilometer to go, and they'll be almost done and dusted. Quite a big crowd now waiting for them at the finish area. And there you can see, just up the road there, they'll go under it very soon, the red kite at 1,000 meters. 19 seconds. Is that between them and the peloton, or them and the 3 guys they were with just a few 100 meters ago? Surely not 19 seconds to the peloton. No, that cannot be. It must be 19 seconds, the gap to the other 3 guys, Codol, Perez and Valdez. So inside the last kilometre now, and there's the peloton, and they haven't gone anywhere near. Oh, they're just coming up to the red kite now. Well, well, well. So it has come down quite quickly. Nonetheless, the 2 leaders surely with only about half a kilometre to go, are almost there and are, I'm sure, not going to be caught now. It's just a question of who's got the sprint, Garcia or Echevarria. They've got enough in hand now, surely not to be caught. It's Garcia in pole position. A quick look back from Unai Echevarria, the Venezuelan. And there you see the camera picking up the three chasers just behind them, Codol, Perez and Valdez. They're not going to get back up to these two, I don't think. I think that the move by Unai Echevarria on that little rise, it may have been a railway bridge or something, was just enough. And there's the peloton, also in the home straight. So there's very, very little between the two leaders, the three chasers who were up with them, and the main peloton. But here comes the sprint now with Unai Echevarria leading it out. Echevarria opening the gap, and I don't think that Garcia has got it, but Garcia, in fact, has confounded me, and Garcia's got it winding up now. And can Garcia come round? Garcia's trying to come round. Garcia's going to come round. Well, he looked as though he'd lost it, but Garcia gets it. Echevarria has to settle for second place. And the yellow jersey, can you believe it? Birchberg comes out of the peloton to swallow up Messrs Codol, Perez and Valdez right at the death, and Birchberg, subject to confirmation, takes third place. But a great win for Cesar Garcia at the finish of day 2 of this tour of the Basque Country. He really looked to me as though he was slow to react when Unai Echevarria first made his move with about 200 metres to go. But he managed to recover himself and get in there, and he really, really got back onto the wheel in fine style. That's his first win of the year. And I'm just waiting for confirmation, but I'm pretty sure that Birchberg in the yellow jersey was next over the line. Cesar Garcia has not had many successes in his career. He won Criterium back in July 2000. And last year he only had a couple of placings, and that was it. So the second win of his pro career, and the relaxed Fuenlabrada boys will have good reason to relax tonight. Relaxed by name, and I'm sure that's what they'll be doing this evening to celebrate the victory of Cesar Garcia at the end of this second stage. A long stage, 183 kilometres to the administrative capital of the Basque Country, the town of Vitoria. It's a medieval town, or at least the old town centre is. And its cathedral was built way back in the 1300s. Catedral de Santa Maria. And a lot of history to the town and the area surrounding it. Still waiting for official confirmation of that third place, but I'm fairly certain that you'll find it's gone to Birchberg. No doubt at all about the stage win for Cesar Garcia, as Birchberg just recovering. He knows that his yellow jersey is safe for another day. The Swiss will be in yellow for tomorrow's third stage. And there it is. 6 seconds, that's all it was. The peloton swallowing up the other three. And look at that, you've got Echevarria David in 5th place. So the two Echevarrias for the Euskaltel team getting in the top 5. So that's a good day out for them. A stage which was featured a long four-man break. They became 3 in the finals countdown. 2